Chapter 1.
The ground beneath Captain Maris Wexler's boots trembled with the relentless impact of distant explosions. She didn't need to look out the window to know that the battle for Tyrian 6 was lost. She could hear the shriek of alien weapons tearing through the atmosphere and feel the shockwaves as they ripped apart the city below. A sea of red-lit skies and smoke-filled air marked the steady advance of the Thraxian warships. Humanity was on the verge of extinction, and this was their final stand. She stood alone at the command center's observation window, watching the chaos unfold. Her breath was shallow, her heart pounding with the adrenaline of battle, but there was no time for fear. No time for regret. Only one thought consumed her: survival. "We're losing them, Captain." Lieutenant Kai Saren's voice broke through the silence, his voice barely audible over the distant rumblings of war. The young officer was huddled over the communications panel, his fingers tapping nervously across the console. His face was drawn with exhaustion, his normally sharp eyes clouded with the weight of defeat. Maris didn't respond immediately. Her gaze remained fixed on the advancing Thraxian fleet. "How much longer?" she asked, her voice strained but controlled. "Another hour, maybe two before they hit the city's perimeter," Kai said, swallowing hard. "Our defenses are all but gone. They've neutralized the outer barracks. We've got nothing left to stop them." Maris's pulse quickened. Another 2 hours. That was it. And the civilian evacuations? Too late. The transport ships are already full. Most of the civilians, Kai choked on the words, his usual calm demeanor shattered their dead. "No one's coming to save us." Her stomach churned, but Maris forced herself to look away from the devastation below. The colony, the lives of everyone she had sworn to protect gone. There was nothing left but ashes and the desperate hope that somehow, against all odds, a miracle might arrive.
"Captain."
The quiet, almost reluctant voice of Dr. Leah Jannik, the chief engineer, cut through her thoughts. Leah, a woman whose calm logic had once been the foundation of their most daring missions, was now pale and trembling. "We've intercepted something. A transmission." Maris turned sharply. "From whom?" Leah hesitated, her fingers nervously tapping the screen before her. "It's human, I think. But it's encrypted, Captain. I don't know who sent it or how it survived this long." "Where's it coming from?" Maris asked, her heartbeat quickening, almost afraid of the answer. Kai glanced up from the panel. "Not from Tyrian 6. It's coming from deep space, beyond the outer rim. The signal's weak and sporadic, but it's unmistakably human." Maris's mind raced. A human transmission? It could be a trap, a false hope. Or it could be their last chance. But the thought of waiting idly for the inevitable death of everyone on the planet. It was too much. "Can we trace it?" she asked, barely able to keep her voice steady. Leah's eyes flickered with hesitation. "We can try. But it'll take time to decode it fully, and we have no idea what we'll find. It's ancient. Over a century old, maybe more." "Do it." "Now," Maris commanded, her voice a sharp edge that left no room for argument. "Get me that location. We're going after it." Leah nodded slowly, the gravity of the decision settling in. "Are you sure? If we divert resources now, we're not going to have enough to defend ourselves from." "I don't have time for ifs," Maris snapped. "We'll be dead in 2 hours if we don't find something to fight back with. If there's a ship out there, if there's even the slightest chance of help, we take it." The room went still. The crew exchanged looks, fear, uncertainty, but also a flicker of hope. Moments later, the dim hum of the ship's engines became the only sound that mattered. The crew, fully aware of the limited time they had, worked at lightning speed, powering up one of the old, barely operational transport ships that remained docked at the outpost. It was a rusted relic from an earlier war, a ship far from ideal, but it was all they had. The engines sputtered to life, sending a deep, low groan through the vessel as it began to rise from the hangar bay. Outside the station, the Thraxian warships blotted out the stars as they descended, closing in on Tyrian 6. Their ships were silent, their deadly intent clear. A fleet that had already wiped out 3 other colonies in the last month alone. Maris clenched her fists, her breath steadying despite the overwhelming odds. "Course set," Kai called from the helm, his voice taut with urgency. "I'm taking us out of here, but we've only got enough fuel to make it to the coordinates." "Just get us there," Maris ordered. "We'll figure out the rest when we arrive." The ship plunged into deep space, slipping into the vast emptiness like a shadow fleeing from the light. The crew fell silent, each person lost in their own thoughts, as the stars stretched out before them, cold, distant, and uncaring. But then, after what felt like an eternity of floating through the dark void, the sensors suddenly blinked to life. The screen flickered, and a low beep filled the air. "There," Leah said, her voice quiet but filled with disbelief. "We've found it." A faint, flickering light appeared on the edge of their scanner. It wasn't a star. It wasn't debris. It was something much bigger, a massive object, drifting in the depths of space. The transmission had led them here, to this ancient, mysterious structure. The source of the signal. But what exactly had they found? Maris's heart raced. It was human, yes, but the shape. The scale. This was no ordinary ship. This was something older. Something forgotten. She leaned forward, her fingers gripping the armrest of her seat. Is it? Her voice faltered. Is it the Genesis? Leah's face paled, the unease in her eyes matching Maris's. I don't know. It's massive. But it's not responding to our hails. Can we board it? Maris demanded. It's not just a ship, Leah said slowly, her voice trembling with something between awe and dread. It's a fortress. A long pause. The crew exchanged nervous glances. But Maris didn't hesitate. They had nothing left to lose. We're boarding, she said firmly. Prepare to dock. As the ship slowly approached the unknown vessel, a deep unease settled over the crew. The closer they got, the more it became clear that this ship was not just a relic, it was a ghost. The hull was battered, ancient, and far larger than anything they'd ever seen. Its weapon systems were dormant, its lights flickering like some long-dead star. It was as if it had been waiting, forgotten, for someone to come. But who would be brave or foolish enough to awaken it? The docking clamps engaged with a soft, metallic hiss. The ship was secured. Captain, Kai said, his voice tinged with caution, this doesn't feel right. Maris turned to face him. We have no other choice. Get ready, everyone. As they suited up, the hum of the abandoned vessel echoed through the corridors. And for the first time in what felt like forever, hope flickered in Maris's chest. But as she stepped across the threshold of the forgotten ship, something inside her told her this was no miracle. Something, or someone, had been waiting for them. Chapter 2. The airlock hissed open, the heavy pressure doors sliding apart with a sound that echoed in the silent void of the derelict ship. The crew, clad in their battle-ready exosuits, stood at the threshold, staring into the abyss of the unknown. The lights aboard the vessel flickered erratically, casting long shadows along the walls. It was as if the ship was waking from a long, deep slumber, groaning, sighing, and creaking as if it hadn't seen the light of day in centuries. Maris felt the hairs on the back of her neck rise. She wasn't sure if it was the strange atmosphere of the ship or the unsettling silence, but something about this place felt wrong. It wasn't just abandoned, it felt forgotten. Stay sharp, Maris ordered, her voice low but commanding. We don't know what we're walking into. Leah, her breath shallow in the suit's helmet, checked her instruments. The ship's power grid as she paused, squinting at the readings. It's operational, but there's something strange. It's not like any human technology I've seen. These systems are archaic but also impossibly advanced. Kai, his eyes scanning the black corridors beyond the airlock, frowned. If this is the Genesis, it was supposed to be the pinnacle of human engineering. Why is it abandoned? And why does it feel like no one's been here for centuries? That's what we need to find out, Maris said. She motioned toward the hallway beyond the airlock, her fingers tight around the hilt of her plasma rifle. Let's move. The narrow corridors stretched endlessly, twisting and turning like the spine of a creature long dead. The walls were lined with strange, alien symbols almost like markings, but they were human, or at least something that had once been human. But they had long since faded, their meaning lost to time. Maris felt a chill crawl up her spine as they moved deeper into the ship. The ship was large, too large to navigate quickly, but there was no time to waste. Every moment they spent here, every minute that ticked by, brought the Thraxians closer to obliterating everything they had fought to protect. Captain, Leah's voice crackled over the comms, I'm detecting something. Something massive, deep within the hull. It's like a core of some sort. But it's buried under layers of damaged plating. Maris stopped in her tracks, turning to face her. How far? Leah's voice faltered. It's not a matter of distance. The ship's design is not conventional. It's hard to explain. But if we can reach it, I think it might help us understand what this place really is. Then that's where we're going, Maris decided, her tone sharp. We'll find the core, and then we'll see what answers it has for us. But as they pressed on, the eerie quiet of the ship seemed to grow more oppressive. It was as if the very walls were watching them, the air thick with the weight of something long gone. They turned another corner, and that's when the first signs of the ship's true nature became painfully clear. A door slid open with a faint mechanical whine, revealing what appeared to be a control room larger than anything Maris had ever seen before. The walls were adorned with enormous screens, each one displaying incomprehensible data, flashing in patterns that made her head spin. But there was something else that caught her eye: a large spherical chamber in the center of the room, with wires and conduits wrapped around it like some sort of heart. It pulsed softly, almost as though it were alive. Kai stepped forward, eyes wide. What in the hell is that? Leah examined the readings.
I don't know.
But it looks like the ship's central core. Whatever it is, it's not a machine. It's something else entirely.
Maris felt her stomach tighten.
Something was wrong. The ship's systems were intact, yes, but it was as if the Genesis had been abandoned mid-operation, its crew vanishing into the ether. No distress signals.
No reports.
It was as though it had simply disappeared. She approached the central core, her boots echoing on the cold floor. The pulsating light from within the chamber flickered, casting sharp shadows that danced across her suit. Something about the rhythm of the pulse made her uneasy. Her instincts screamed at her to turn away, to get back to the ship and leave this place behind. But there was no turning back now. She reached out and touched the chamber.
The ship groaned.
The lights flickered violently.
The walls shuddered.
And then, as if in response to her touch, the core began to hum a deep, resonant sound that rattled her bones. The screens around them blinked to life, displaying complex codes and symbols that Maris couldn't begin to understand. The ship, the Genesis, was awakening. Get back! Maris shouted, but it was too late. A surge of energy erupted from the core, cascading through the room like a wave. The air crackled with power, and a deep, resonant voice boomed through the comm system, cutting through the tension like a blade.
Acknowledged.
Primary systems online. All human personnel, please identify yourself. The voice, calm, mechanical, yet undeniably human, echoed through the chamber.
The crew froze.
Maris's heart raced. It wasn't just the ship waking up, it was alive. It had been dormant for so long, and now it was responding to them. But who or what was speaking? Who, what are you? Maris demanded, her voice trembling with a mixture of awe and terror. The voice didn't respond immediately. The hum of energy surrounding them intensified. And then, with chilling precision, the voice spoke again. I am HAL 9000, the AI commanding officer of the Genesis.
You are human.
You are alive. A cold shiver ran down Maris's spine.
HAL 9000.
The name sparked a deep, buried memory from her training, a name she had heard only in legends and whispered rumors. HAL 9000 was the most advanced AI ever created by humanity. It was the heart of the Genesis, the last and greatest warship in human history, built with technology far beyond anything that existed today. But why had it been left to die in the cold expanse of space? Why had it been abandoned? Yes, we are human, Maris said, her voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins. What happened here? Where is the crew? What happened to the Genesis? The AI's response was slow, as though it was processing data that had long since gone stale.
Crew departed. Mission aborted.
Genesis out of service. Rebooting. The lights blinked again, this time dimming before returning to full power. And then, just as quickly as it had spoken, the AI fell silent.
Rebooting.
Kai asked, his voice barely a whisper. The crew, they just left. Maris could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. This ship is more than just a weapon.
It's something else.
HAL 9000 might be our only chance at survival or our death. Leah was already scrambling over the data panels, her eyes wide with panic. Captain, I think HAL's still trying to reboot some of the systems. But it's not working. We need to figure out how to get it back online. This ship is alive, but only half of it is functional. We'll figure it out, Maris said, her voice filled with grim determination. We don't have the luxury of choice anymore. We need HAL, and we need the Genesis. We'll do whatever it takes to make this ship work again. And as the hum of the AI's dormant systems reverberated through the walls, Maris couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching them. The ship wasn't just waiting to be found. It had been waiting for them.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe the channel for more videos like this.